So this phenomenon is absolutely wild because it shows how our brains are not geared to understand probabilities, which can lead to huge errors in everyday life. So in the book Fooled by Randomness, the author talks about this quiz that was given to medical doctors, which most of them actually got wrong. So you have a test for a disease that's verified at 95% accurate, or in other words, only 5% of the time it will give you a false positive. And you have a disease where only 1 in 1,000 people will have it in the entire population. And the entire population gets tested at random. And if you were the doctor presented with a patient who had been tested positive, what would be the probability that patient actually has the disease? So I'd recommend you pause and have a little think about it first. So most doctors just straight up said 95% because after all, like the test is verified at 95%, so surely that's the probability. But that's actually wrong. The true probability isn't just a little bit lower than it, it's ridiculously lower. The real probability, given these numbers, that the patient actually has the disease is 2%. And the maths is fairly simple because 5% of the time people will be falsely tested positive. So in your sample size of 1,000 people, you have 50 people who will be falsely tested positive, whereas one person will be tested positive who actually has the disease. So 1 divided by 51 is 2%. And I say this as wild because it's so counterintuitive, even though the maths isn't that hard. And it has huge implications because it's not just medicine. So say you're talking to someone where you're 99% sure they're telling the truth, or they tell the truth 99% of the time, but they're making a claim where in the general population of things, it's a very unlikely event. So let's just say they have an Olympic gold medal, where the chances of a completely random person in the population having that is I don't know, 1 in 10,000. Even though you're 99% sure he's telling the truth, when you actually follow the same maths, the probability of that person actually having a gold medal is 0.98%, which is just ridiculously counterintuitive. Now, obviously in real life, there's a lot of other factors at play because something like this is easily verifiable. But a lot of the time, things are not so verifiable. Take another example. If you're speaking to someone and you're 99.9% sure they're telling the truth, where they're practically the most honest person you've ever met in your entire life, and they practically never ever lie. But if they're making a claim, let's saying like something like, I only need 4 hours of sleep, which is a genetic mutation that only affects 1 in 4 million, the probability of that actually being true is practically zero. Probability is such a huge area, and I feel like it's one of the most misunderstood areas of math, and it's so much misused in the media. So I think going forward, we'll be doing a mini series on common fallacies around this.